Thanks to special funding from TELUS, for the first time ever, we were able to add to our summit meeting in Whitehorse this year a very important research component. Prostate cancer researchers who have benefited from the TELUS Ride for Dad research funding attended the summit from across Canada. The stories they told were an inspiration to all of us. We've tried to summarize their comments with very short video clips for most of them. Thank you for watching, and I'm sure that you will be inspired as well.
If you were to take all of these grants and put them on a map, I think any other healthcare research funding agency would be envious of the way you distribute your investment across Canada. That makes for a stronger research and healthcare infrastructure across Canada, and I think that's really important too. I want to thank you for that. I've been fortunate enough to get 2 grants funded. I'll tell you a little bit about the earlier one because that's now been seriously leveraged, and so I want to tell you how these small investments get bigger or yield big returns. And thanks to Ride for Dad, we developed a test based on a phenomenon called DNA methylation and showed that we thought it could help with this problem. And that was with Ride for Dad funding. That preliminary data we developed with Ride for Dad funding helped us and another lab from Queens get onto a large project that's a $5 million 5-year project across Canada, 7 different laboratories, 100 different researchers, all tackling this problem together, all bringing their own areas of expertise together, and I think we'll have important results to report within the next year on that project. Thank you.
So we've been focused, so using these proteins that are involved in the spread of cancer, we asked the question using Motorcycle Ride for Dad funds, do these proteins actually tell us anything about whether a cancer is going to spread and kill this person? And so working with these funds over a number of years, we've developed a test now that we brought into the clinic. We've tested on over 400 patients so far. We've recruited over 3,000 patients in Alberta to get this test in the clinic. And I'm happy to say that we have a test now that can be used with the PSA test that accurately predicts the outcome of a biopsy. So thank you so much for all your help.
First, I just wanted to say thank you, and I know all the researchers I think have come up and thanked you, but I think the reality is that we live in a very inspiring culture. We have people such as yourselves that spend time, money, effort to raise money, to give it to us so we can do research that may help someone 10, 20, 30 years down the road, right? There's very few cultures and societies that will do this. So we are very privileged to be able to receive that type of effort from people like yourselves. And it is vital for research across Canada, as you've seen. And in fact, it keeps going. Some of the things that you don't see that I think is important are the long-term effects. So you've heard some of them today in regards to leveraging funding. But the other thing that this kind of funding allows us to do is help train the future. So this is stuff that would not have happened if it hadn't been funding for Ride for Dad. So we're very, very grateful. And thank you. Keep raising that money.
The second thing I would like to do, and others have done that as well, is really say thank you to you. And when we speak about research or money that comes to me, this is not just for me. The process actually I had been funding from and had funding from the Durham chapter and from the Huronia chapter supports my research team. My research team that has been involved in Ride for Dad support the projects are 5 undergrad students, 1 fellow, 1 summer student, and 1 physician from Iran who's now actually doing a fellowship in Saskatchewan. Now,
first of all, I wanted to obviously thank the entire executive for this wonderful opportunity, and in particular, I wanted to thank our local executives, the members here who've supported us now almost 10 years, and hopefully for more. And what I wanted to say is that it's really funny because 10 years ago, I remember the very first time that what was happening in St. John's at the time is that I was approached because we were the only researchers at the time actually interested in prostate cancer. And you can imagine the very first day, here I was, I'm like this nerdy scientist guy with thick glasses with my lab coat, and I was faced this wall, this absolute impressive wall of steel and leather. And I was absolutely terrified of this. And it was so what happened, but what I've learned is that every single one of those people were incredibly passionate. They had so much energy and dedication and passion for this cause that energy actually transferred to me into my laboratory, and it's created this incredible synergy that I think cannot be reproduced under any other scenario. So we're really grateful for the support from the Ride for Dead. Second thing that happened was that because of the funding that we've received, we've been able to leverage from other, like many people here, we've been able to leverage from other organizations, from the Research and Development Corporation of Newfoundland and Labrador, and also from CIHR. The third thing that's happened is that I'm no longer now the only prostate cancer researcher. We now have at least 3 other groups now in St. John's who are interested, actively pursuing. Dr. Hirasawa is one of them. He's going to tell you about his research. So that has been the third major success that has arisen from our local executive and from the whole effort nationally.
My name is Oleg Dmitriev. I work in the Department of Biochemistry at the University of Saskatchewan. And, listening to the talks earlier today, I realized that we all have a good reason to be grateful to Ride for Dead for funding that they provide for our research projects. But from my perspective, there is one particularly important aspect to that, and that is this funding from Ride for Dead allows scientists from other areas of research to get involved in prostate cancer research. And that is indeed my case. And that money was provided by the Ride for Dead. And I am very, very grateful to Ride for Dead, to all of you for this opportunity to start this entirely new research program in prostate cancer.
I'm Italian, as you can guess from my accent, so I can put up a quite melodramatic representation even without visual displays. And so, to come to the point, the biology that we discussed so far was mostly focused on the tumors, so was mostly focused on the bears. But what we didn't discuss at all is that if you continue the analogy, usually you're not alone in the park with the bear. As a matter of fact, there are plenty of rangers around. And that's what your immune system is. Your immune system is basically a very well-designed army that will protect you from the bears. And what is cool about the immune system is that the immune system is actually able to tell apart the aggressive bears from the non-aggressive bears so that you do not have to read that book. And it's true. And I'm particularly grateful for the fundings that I received this year actually, because for young investigators as myself, I just recently started my lab not even a year ago, it's extremely hard to find money to develop new ideas and new projects. And grants like this one allow us to expand the horizons of our discoveries and embrace projects that are maybe a little bit risky, but that could pay high reward.
We cannot do this kind of work without your support because, cancer research funding and funding in healthcare in general has been declining. And you might ask yourself, well, why don't other places fund the work that we do? And it is because, we come up with really high-risk ideas, new ways of thinking that many traditional funding agencies are adverse to that really high risk. And the seed funding here is really what helps get that first really high-risk idea moving along. And so the second way that this has impacted me is through the ability to leverage, and you've heard a lot of that already, and through the funds that were raised and provided to me, we've been able to acquire really high-tech, state-of-the-art equipment from the Canadian Foundations of Innovations, just under $1 million worth of equipment. And we were also able to get research funding from, of all places, the U.S. Department of Defense, their prostate cancer research program. So really, it's bringing it to an international level.
My name is Juanita Crook. I'm a radiation oncologist and a professor at the University of British Columbia, and I'm very happy to be here today in Whitehorse. And I want to thank all the Ride for Dad organizers and participants, because you've really made a huge difference across the country. So I'm really happy that Ride for Dad has supported us in Kelowna, and we'll continue to use the funds that are raised for a very good purpose. Thank you.
If we didn't get the seed money to make these projects competitive at a national level, none of this would be happening. So we owe a lot of what happens to you. Leveraging is key. So I've had 2 projects where I've had $20,000 to $30,000 range grants from Ride for Dad in the past. One which was leveraged through Prostate Cancer Canada for an additional $200,000, and then a second one more recently that was leveraged for $300,000 from Ontario Institute of Cancer Research. So you're getting a tenfold return on the money in that case, and it gets better. So unfortunately, I'm going to share an example of success with you, which is not my success, but it's a colleague's success, and I think we're all very proud of him for that. And he, in a way, owes all of it to Gary and Byron from the very first Ride for Dad in Ottawa. So I don't know how many of you have heard of John Bell and the oncolytic virus story in cancer, but it's like the big thing in Ottawa. He's pretty much cornered the market on it in most of Canada, I think. But John originally got a grant for $25,000 from Ride for Dad back in 2002, 3, something like that. And 15 years later, John has got a Network Centers of Excellence grants for millions of dollars. He has a Prostate Cancer Canada team grant for, I think, $5 or $7 million. And most recently, one of the spin-off companies that develops the products of oncolytic virus that John developed has actually just got $45 million from AbbVie as a pharmacological investment. So it takes some time, but you can see that really the money you guys give us can be leveraged and can do really important things.
And one theme that comes through is how the motorcycle, how the Ride for Dad invests in high-risk ideas. And that's important. There are very few other funding agencies where someone can come up with a crazy idea and get funding to run with it. It doesn't always pan out, but sometimes it does. And when it does, that really pays big. And this is, I think, one of the unique advantages and one of the ways where the RIDE is positioned to fund these high-risk ideas and these high-risk concepts, which can then really produce amazing results.
You can clearly see from these examples how your investment will grow with the TELUS Ride for Dad and the Prostate Cancer Fight Foundation. Join us today in our fight to save men's lives and keep families together.